in the background, as well as the Borough of Naugatuck CI Coordinator, Angela Griffin. I have representatives from the Greater Waterbury NAACP. I have Ms. Wendy Tyson, Dr. Kenneth Cook, a faith-based leader who's joined us today too, Reverend T.C. Brantley. And I'm missing anybody else here, our social worker Sherry Hatfield, as well as one of the emergency service leaders who's joined us here today. So we just left from having conversation with several of these leaders about the incident regarding use of force, which I previously put out as a press conference. The body camera and the dash camera for that incident has been released. It's been put up on a Dropbox for the media to view and utilize. Before I get into details or anything really further, I do want to emphasize that this incident has two active investigations. The first one is a criminal investigation, which is being conducted by the Connecticut State Police. And there's also a active but concurrent internal investigation that is also underway regarding the officer's use of force. With all that, I am limited in what I can say, but I do want to walk you through some basic facts. The incident occurred on Saturday, October 14th, 2023. That incident stemmed from a shoplifting that occurred at Naugatuck Stop and Shop, in which the suspect attempted to steal over $200 worth of beer from that business. During the course of that theft, it was escalated to a robbery charge due to the fact that there was an altercation between store staff and the suspect in question. The suspect involved in this incident was a Gerald Day, D-A-Y, age 23, who's out of Waterbury, Connecticut. And we will also be identifying the officer involved in this incident, Officer Nicholas Kihas of the Naugatuck Police, who has over 13 years of service with this department. In our department, whenever there's a use of force, it automatically triggers an internal review. That internal review process moves forward up the chain of command. Early on in that process, we identified several concerns with this use of force, and as is standing practice with our state's attorney's office, anytime we have a questionable use of force, we immediately bring that forward to the state's attorney's office. Based upon State's Attorney Maureen Platt's viewing of this, she made a decision to immediately refer this over to the Connecticut State Police for a criminal investigation. At that same time, we also initiated our own internal investigation based upon the officer's conduct. At that point and at that time, the officer was placed on paid administrative leave. He is no longer acting in his capacity as a police officer. And that investigation, like I said, remains underway at this time. My main intent here today is to be transparent with the community, to maintain confidence and trust that our officers are out there doing what they need to do, that this doesn't take away from the hard work that our officers are doing every single day, that this incident shouldn't necessarily be used to portray the men and women of the Naugatuck Police Department for the they do on a daily basis out there, and law enforcement in general as well too. I do want to emphasize that we do have internal measures in place to evaluate our use of force. Those measures were in place, they were working. This incident was self-reported. This did not originate from an external complaint. This incident did not originate from a suspect who did not report any injuries from this. And you know, I think that it's worth highlighting again that our systems are working. This is mandated by the state of Connecticut. We're an accredited police department. This includes mandatory use of force reviews, and these measures are in place and they are working. With that, again, I don't want to compromise an active criminal investigation. I don't want to compromise an internal investigation by weighing in. This employee does have due process, which is afforded to them under law, and by saying any comments or rendering an opinion at this point in an early stage, that may occur. So I can answer several questions. I'm willing to do that, but understanding those guidelines and those boundaries that I've set here for that. So is there anyone who has any questions that I feel I could answer?
So this officer, and I don't know if you're going to be able to answer this question, but have they been disciplined in the past?
This officer does have a disciplinary history, the extent to which I can't get into today.
You said 13 years they've been with the department?
Yes, that's correct.
You know the condition of the person that was tased?
There were no reported injuries at that time.
No one went to the hospital or anything?
That's correct. No one was transported to the hospital. At that point, the suspect did not report any injuries or initiate any complaint. This was initiated from our own internal measures.
Since then, has the suspect launched any kind of complaint against Naugatuck PD? Since, I mean, this did happen 2 weeks ago.
We have not. We've not received any complaint from the suspect.
In that second attempt to tase the suspect, you see in the video that the taser's held for 8 seconds against his body. Is that part of training or protocol for police, or does that overstep protocol?
I'm not going to comment on the specifics of that because that will weigh into that investigation both criminally and administratively.
Was the suspect ever formally charged?
Yes, that suspect was charged immediately after that incident, and I can't get you those specific charges as well as information after this
And
press
those are
conference.
still standing?
Yes, they are still being prosecuted this time under at Waterbury Court, from my understanding.
What was that altercation like? Can you tell us a little bit about that? You said it was upgraded to a robbery because of an altercation with staff at the store?
So when there's a force or a threat of force used during a theft, that automatically will increase that charge to robbery. So I don't want to elaborate specifically on that, but that's the state's interpretation of that.
So that person did have a weapon because it was a robbery, right? Or?
There was no weapon involved, but there was a struggle, which was through force, through the person. So that's generally the parameters for robbery.
When the police are responding, obviously we saw the video, it's very intense. You said there was no weapon involved. Was there any weapon involved later in the pursuit, or is there any explanation for the intensity of the response?
Well, I think that the video is self-evident. When you see that the cruisers were struck, the suspects were actively attempting to elude and flee law enforcement. I think that this again highlights the stress that officers face out there. They have to constantly pivot between managing an active scene, an active situation, suspects who are out there actively trying to avoid apprehension. And I think the video is descriptive of that. That's why we wanted to get this out there. We're being transparent and showing how this initiated law enforcement contact and then how it played through. And I think the video does a good job of highlighting that. So
Are police going to release the use of force report, and if so, does it match what's in the video?
at this point, like I said, the investigation internally and administratively is still underway, and when that is completed, I imagine at some point we'll be able to evaluate what can be released to the public. So I'll take one more question.
At the beginning of the video, when the car is stalled, the officer says, "Shut it down now," and then threatens the suspect's life. Is there any reaction to that, or comment on whether that's ever appropriate in any situation under the protocol or training?
So I just want to reiterate here that my goal for a meeting with all of you today is transparency, maintaining the trust of the community that they have in our police department to go out there and do our jobs. I don't want to go out here and undermine any sort of criminal investigation or administrative investigation that's currently underway. And in weighing in at this point just wouldn't be appropriate, and it could possibly do that. So with that, I'd like to thank all of you for coming here and joining us. And we will keep the community advised of any updates as this moves forward. Thank you.